Hi, hi, hot potatoes, and welcome back to Take This TV, the television book club podcast where each week we watch an episode or two of our favorite shows and talk about it with our friends in the fandom. That's you. Hello. I'm Carmen Askerneese, and I'm joined by my dear friend and our new co host, Kimberly Woods. Hi.
Hi, hi, hot potatoes. So
This
excited to be here,
season,
Carmen.
oh, I'm so excited that you're here. Oh my gosh. We're going to be talking about a new show this season, guys. Is something that we're watching now as it's airing, and we hope that you watch along with us. It's called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Kimberly, can you tell the people about the show?
Yes, I will tell you all about the show. So, Carmen and I love the show Atlanta, and for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a lot of the folks from Atlanta are working on this show. So, it stars Donald Glover as John Smith and Maya Erskine as Jane Smith. It's co created by Donald Glover and Francesca Sloan, both who have written together on Atlanta. And the director of this episode is Hiro Murai, who was an executive producer on Atlanta and also directed some of those episodes. This episode is called First Date. We're getting to meet the Smiths, John and Jane. They're strangers who have given up their identities to be paired off by a secret organization, both in espionage and in marriage. They're two peas stuck in one pod, so come along as they run, jump, and adventure, making friends and making memories. But watch out, there's something very amiss in this first mission that we get to witness. It's John and Jane's first date. Good luck, John and Jane.
Oh my gosh. So if you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that before when we were watching shows on Netflix, our good friends over at Netflix who do the episode descriptions, we would always be like, "Oh man, that's I guess that's technically what happened in the episode." But this episode description from Amazon, where you can watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith, just is more like talking to us as the audience. So I don't know if we'll be doing that this season. We'll see. But Kimberly, did you
Yes.
watch the movie from like way
Oh
back?
my gosh. I did, and I don't remember, but this is a very I remember some of it, but it's a very different premise from the movie. So in the movie, the Angelina and Brad movie, because apparently there's also a Hitchcock film called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, as well as a
Oh,
TV series from 1996 called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Yeah,
I did
before
not
the
know
Brad
that.
and Angelina movie. I know, I just found this out yesterday because I have not seen those. But in the Brad and Angelina film, it was about two spies from separate organizations who fall for one another. And then in the movie, they get tasked with targeting each other. But neither one of them knows that the other one is a spy until they start targeting each other. But this show, as you know, Carmen, is very different because um, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are meeting for the first time, and this whole marriage is this setup for them to go on missions together. So they're two complete strangers who have to, meet for the first time and figure out how to navigate each other and, the single house they're given with the one main bedroom and the guest bedroom downstairs. So I love this premise because it creates it's prime for a lot of awkward awkward moments and awkward comedy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the it's always like it reminds me of when you go to college and you have a roommate for the first time. And it's
Yep.
like there's so many awkward little things about like just people's quirks that you're getting used to. Um and I will say that like when they first move in together and the cat who's at first unnamed shows up,
Mhm.
I think that like that was one of those moments where it's like, oh, this person is like bringing their whole life to our shared space. And I thought that was
Yeah,
really cute and sweet.
yeah. It's also funny because it's, like, a surprise to both of them at first. They're like, "Oh, I guess we have a cat." Guess this place comes with a cat.
If there are places out there that come with cats included, I would love to live in those places
Me
personally.
too. That was
Oh
awesome.
man. So I was watching the episode with the subtitles on,
Oh,
and I
really?
think Yeah, I think it may have spoiled some stuff about the cold open.
Oh, interesting.
Well, what
Yeah,
so,
the
like,
cold open was interesting.
what did you think about it?
Um, I mean, it was another, like it seemed like 2 spies or 2 criminals that were living together, like, almost like they were a Mr. and Mrs. Smith pair, who then, I guess, have been on the run or something because the woman's like, "I'm tired, I'm tired of running," and then they're gonna have this face-off, but I don't know who exactly they are. Do you?
No, I
Or what did the subtitles say?
do you want me to tell okay, spoiler, I guess mild spoiler, like a
Okay.
40% spoiler, I guess, spoiler alert. The subtitle said John and Jane,
Oh, yeah,
and
so I
so
that's right,
okay,
that's kinda what I guessed, like, they're like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I thought that
okay,
was kind of
cool.
our taste into this world, but, like, who in the world is after them? Who are the people that they've been on the run from? And then I guess that begs the question, if they are a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they're working for the same organization as our new Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what is that organization?
I have a theory.
What is that?
I know that we just
Oh
started
boy,
the
I'm getting
episode,
into
but
theories already.
I was so excited. I was like, I
Let's
can't
do
wait to tell Kimberly about this.
it.
I was like, okay, I think this is foreshadowing of I feel like the show has been like advertised like, oh, it's a comedy, it's an action comedy. I think this is going to be like a tragic story. And throughout the first episode, Jane asks a couple of times, like, what do you think happens if we fail? And I feel like for one reason or another, maybe because they failed to complete a task or chose not to complete a task and were sort of insubordinate or disobedient to the organization, then John and Jane Smith we meet in the cold open were targeted by other agents in the organization, and essentially like a burn notice was put out on them, I think.
Mhm. I like
And
that.
so,
I like that
yeah,
theory.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
I do think it's a scary thing because when we're introduced to this secret organization that they now both work for, it's just they walk into a room, there's only the machine there that, says, "Hi, hi," on the machine, and they do this interview where it's like, there might be cameras, but nobody else is in the room with them, and we get to learn a little bit about each of them. And we learn that they're cutting ties to their past, like, at the end of this, they each agree that, they're not gonna talk to their mom, they're not gonna talk to their dad, they're gonna cut all ties to the past, so they're, like, entirely dependent now on this organization, which is a little scary.
I love
And
the like,
only each other, I guess, but
yeah, they truly only have each other, which is pretty wild. It like the corporate dystopia that it kind of sets up is so delicious. I love it because I mean, I think that I think that when you can draw those kind of parallels to like real life, it always hits harder. And um
yeah.
we sort of see as throughout the episode, as John and Jane get to know each other, how what they tell each other is different from the interview that they did with the organization. Like for example, John originally tells Jane that he's never killed anyone. Um, but in his interview, he says that he killed one person by accident and 13 people on purpose, because he used to
Yeah, because
operate
he was
drones.
yep.
Yeah.
I love that we're getting to go on this first date with them, like, it's like, okay, first they go to the cafe, and they're getting to know each other a little bit. I mean, they're both very kind of John is very much, like, trying to pry information out of Jane. Like, he seems the most curious about this whole situation at first and about her because, he takes that picture of her when he's, like, saying he's gonna, like, take a picture of a plant and see if it's being overwatered, and then he actually takes a picture of her and tries to do a Google image search and find out about her, but nothing comes up. So, anyway,
I
I love that we get to go along on this, like, them slowly getting to know each other over the course of, like, going to the cafe and going to the park and going to the theater.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the original, well, the Brad and Angelina movie was like had some rom-com elements, and I feel like we get a little bit of that with seeing this sort of like their relationship kind of blossom. We don't know if they're going to be romantic with one another or not. Just so you guys know, listening, that we're watching this one episode at a time, and we're gonna do an episode about each episode of the show. So right now we've just watched episode one, um, and I mean I love to see like I'm a sucker for romance, and so I really want them to be together. And I'm like, oh Jade, you could be happy because she's like, I'm not in it for the romance.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that moment when he's, like, does that smooth move trying to, like, put her earpiece in, but it looks like. And she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Not here
Pump
for
the
the
brakes.
romance." Yeah. But then we have that cute moment in the theater when he's like he kind of reapproaches the because she says something about she had pancakes with a pedophile, like, she drops that on him in the cafe, and so then he takes that moment while she's sitting in the theater to kind of like, "Wait, so tell me about this again?" And I love that we see
Trauma.
her start opening up, like, when she doesn't have to be face to face with him, when he's just, like, in her ear, she's just like, "Okay." Or at
Yeah,
least we think she's sharing the truth.
that's true because we don't know. She could be lying. It was a sweet moment though. It did seem like she was being vulnerable, just from how she
Mhm,
was reacting. But she could
mhm.
be lying. Who knows? Maybe she's really
Who
a really good
knows?
spy.
Yeah, maybe. But it did feel like she was opening up, like, she felt a little safer being in the dark and being, like, not face to face and, like, she could, I don't know, have a moment to be more vulnerable.
Do you think that John was being honest when he was confiding in Jane?
Later on, he is, because at the end of the episode, um, he finally shares that he killed someone and that he was a drone operator.
Yeah.
We know he's, like, dishonorably discharged because of it,
I was curious
right?
about that because he mentions that during his interview.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, what could you have done to be
Yeah, he's like, "It can be
dishonorably
considered
discharged?
dishonorable." I'm like, what does that mean?" But these are, like, 2 people because they both sign up. Because at the beginning of this episode, they're a little disappointed that they're just following this lady around, and it seems like, "Oh, what is this easy peasy operation we've been assigned?" We both signed on to, high risk. I thought this was gonna be high risk. So these are, like, 2 people that want to be in high risk situations, that wanna leave, that are okay with leaving everything behind. So, like, what kind of people are they?
Thrill
Like,
seekers, yeah.
I guess so, but like, people that also don't mind being detached to their past. So, both maybe having dark pasts.
Ooh. I also was like, as I was watching the first interview scenes, where they're talking to the machine, you see them in a waiting room, and it's kind of like going to a unemployment office or a similar place where they help you like find temp work. If you've never been to a place like that in real life, awesome, good for you, first of all. Secondly, it's really similar to like going to the DMV. Like you go in there and there's usually an agent or someone who will call you up and ask you questions about your life and ask you about your skills and try to help you find work. So it definitely had that like temp agency vibe, which after I watched the episode got me to thinking like, maybe like have they done other assignments before? And this is like them going back to the agency to get a new assignment. Like maybe they're both sort of lying in terms of like well, I actually think there are some of the questions that we don't hear. We just kind of hear their responses. So it makes me wonder of like I think one of the questions it sound like based on the responses, it sounds like the question was what was your previous partner or like relationship like? But it makes me wonder of
Mm,
like, do they have a previous assignment similar to this one? And the machine is asking how that ended and if they'd be willing to like, are they loyal to the company or would they be like fall for their significant other and be loyal to their significant other? That kind of thing.
that's interesting. So you think the machine is more like a temp temp work assigner
Yeah, I mean,
itself, the
well,
HiHi?
I was
Because in my
thinking
mind, it was
about
like this agency, but that's
the high.
interesting.
I love calling
The
it the
HiHi
high high,
machine?
the high high machine. I was thinking about Atlanta, right? And just like the
Yeah.
type of stuff that Donald Glover makes.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, if like without like metagaming or overthinking it, I think like this analogy of like a spy agency that's kind of like it's not like they're being really um inconspicuous about what they're doing. There are other people waiting in the lobby.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't necessarily see like a sign out front for the building or anything, but it seems
Yeah.
um Jane mentions that she got an email. And so it seems like something that is maybe either government funded or some kind of organization that is secretive, that is not known to the general public, but it's not like, you know, some
Mhm.
Illuminati kind of stuff. So that leads me to believe that like they want to test people's loyalty. When they walk into the room, the song that's playing, I think, is like "You Belong to Me" or something like that, or the lyrics to the song.
Mhm.
And it makes me think that like the whole idea behind it is like these people belong to the company. You're loyal to us. We're going to put you in these situations, but you need to be cold and calculated. And if we ask you to murder your significant other that you're in a marriage with, um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we'll see. I mean, I definitely those were the vibes I got.
I definitely agree with the last part you're saying, like, you belong like, this company, like, owns them now. This company probably wants the type of people that they are who are willing to cut ties and willing to be dependent on them. Um, I don't know if they've worked for this company before. To me, it seems like this is their first time with this particular company. Um, because I also think that adds to the whole, like, fish out of water type thing for these characters because they have no idea what they're getting into. So I don't know if they've done assignments for them before. I feel like
Yeah.
it's more there might be more stakes if this is their first time, they have no idea because they're not supposed to talk about their missions, but this seems very weird to them both. You know what I'm saying? I think 'cause, Maya's character is like, can we talk about that like, what is that, cake? 'Cause we have this whole episode, right, where they're following this lady, they're waiting for a package. They're supposed to their whole, like, mission description is intercept, right? Intercept a package from this
Yeah.
lady. And they're like they have no idea what the package is going to be. At one moment, like, some guy is giving her money, some younger guy, and they're like, "Is that the package?" So they have, like, no idea, and then it ends up they have to do the whole swap with the box. Remember? To get the actual package from the lady, and then they deliver it to where it's supposed to go, and we see that it's a cake,
A
and
delicious looking cake.
they're like, "Wait a second, what is this cake?" What did you think about that moment, Carmen?
I
What did you think
well,
about the cake
I you know
the
what?
cake
I
surprise?
love the cake surprise. I play a lot of video games, and I thought it was hilarious that they were like, "We signed up for high risk. Why are we doing a fetch quest?" And also, like, the lady that they were following she was so amazing. Like, her just, like, dancing in the cafe while she's eating. I was like, "I aspire
Yeah.
to be this lady." She's enjoying her life. But I also loved when they were in the park and the guy that she gives money to shows up and Jane's like, "Oh, that's her boyfriend." And John's like, "What? No, it's like her son." And they start making out. It's like, yes. um,
It's so good.
but
At
yeah,
first, I wasn't
no.
even sure if it was that lady, like, I had my doubts, like, is this the lady they're actually supposed to be following? Like, or is there gonna be something where, they
She
they
seemed like
miss
a
their
normal
actual
person,
mark.
right?
I know. Yeah, at first. But I love that. That was really great.
The handoff of like John being doing this like elaborate trick to try ruse to try to swap the boxes. Um it seemed like really clever and also like really um amateur of like somebody who's like, this is my idea of what a spy would do.
Yeah.
Trying to like make this elaborate thing happen.
I love that he's, like when he has to go through each of the shops hunting for the perfect size box that matches her box for the swap, but it takes him, like, several tries. Or
Yeah.
he's going to different vendors like, "Wait, nope," and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Okay, I'll buy this random thing and put it in here so I can take your box."
Yeah, I
But
love that the
also, what
lady's
about
like, "You can't have this box."
I love what he's like, he goes up to the street vendor or whatever and, like, is like, "Don't go near my daughter again," or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
so start picking a fight with that guy. It's like
Poor guy.
and later on, Jane's like, "What? My daughter?" Like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, no, it just came to me, like, you know."
Do you think he was, like, revealing a little bit about his personal life? Do you think he actually has a daughter, and that's why it was so easy for him to come up with that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Or it's just kind of like stuff like you're saying, it's slightly amateur, like, maybe it's phrases he's heard on, like, TV shows, you know? It sounds like a
Yeah.
thing like, "Don't go near my you know, like, we've heard, like, watching TV.
He just watched Taken, and he was
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's like, "This is what they say, isn't it?"
So yes, to your original question about the cake, I, like when the person opened the box and it was just a cake, I was like, "Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen."
Yep,
And it does.
and I was like, "Holy moly, what if they did stay and have that drink?" Because the lady's like, "Would you like a drink? You guys want a drink?" And Jane's like, "Sure," and John's like, "No, no, no, we gotta go." But they didn't know, like, the agency that they're working for didn't say, "Just drop the package off and leave." Like, they didn't tell them that.
Nope.
So, that's the kinda agency they're working for.
Oh man, they're expendable. One drink away from being blown up.
Yep.
So after they drop
But
off the
they
cake,
Mhm.
they leave the house and the cake explodes. Killing 9 people.
Killing 9 people who
Wow,
we don't know much
insane.
about. We don't even know who those people were, do we?
No,
So
we
it's like,
don't.
what kind of agency are they working for? Are they working for the bad guys? We don't know
We don't.
what this agent.
I remember, like, watching it and thinking after the explosion happens, I was like, "Oh, no, they're getting caught. You're right outside." But thankfully,
Yep,
they run away.
they run away. And they both seem kind of excited, right? After it happens? Like, after they actually get it because they run away and then you know, Jane smears John's, like, blood on her face so he can carry her into this restaurant and, like, they can go into the restroom without people asking or standing in their way. And then once they're in the bathroom and have that moment together, they kinda seem excited,
Oh,
right?
man.
Like, they've gotten away, like, this is actually high stakes, and they thought it was originally gonna be easy, and they were getting eased into something.
The tension was there, for sure. I
Mhm.
like, there was that moment where it was just, like, a really, like, the sexual tension, I think, was at the height of his power. And I was like, "Are they gonna kiss?" Um,
Yeah.
but no, I think it's just like you said, they both wanted this to happen, like, with the high stakes missions, and earlier, Jane told him that maybe they're being eased in with with this type of mission, and, they both kinda have this moment of like, "Wow, we didn't expect that." Um I do think that, like, after they get back home, we see Jane start to question her part in all of this. What did you think about that?
Will you explain that to me more? In what way?
Yeah, so,
Carmen, are you
when they're walking back home when they're walking away, or maybe it was in the bathroom, at one point, Jane asked John, what do you think, who do you think those people were? Like, we almost died or something like that, and he says we're not supposed to talk about it.
Mhm.
And for him, it's just like out of sight, out of mind. I followed orders and did what I was supposed to do. But Jane has more of a conscience about it, and it's like, what did we do? What am I involved in?
That's
We
interesting.
almost
Yeah.
died. Yeah.
Do you think that's from his military training as a drone operator, trying to, like, compartmentalize that. Like, like, "Hey, we don't talk about that. Let's just, that was our mission. I gotta." That
I
maybe he
kind
will
of
have a what is it called? A crisis of conscience later about it? Whereas Jane maybe has never she didn't answer the question, did she, of if she'd ever killed anybody? I
I
can't
don't
remember in her
remember.
interview,
Yeah, I don't remember.
but he asked her. We saw him ask her that at the cafe.
And she dodged it.
She dodged it, and she
Yeah.
said something like, "Do I look like I have that?" Or who said something about that kind of face? He's like, "You have that kind of face," and she's like, "What are you talking about?" 'Cause he
Yeah.
he's like, "Your eyes, you look like you have the eyes of a predator?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
She
I
says
think
people have described her as cold and manipulative, but she's never actually said she's killed someone, so maybe this is a
mm,
first for her.
I definitely, I'm skeptical about them both because John seems like he's a company man in the sense of, like, he's all in on this on this lifestyle, and there's a part of me that feels like he's been lying this whole time, um,
Mhm.
and there's also a part of me that's like, I think he's just trying to tell Jane what she wants to hear, so, like, he comes clean to her about the number of people that he's killed, and I feel like he's less being vulnerable and more, like, trying to earn her trust, and I'm like, "Oh, man." Like, is he manipulating her, or I don't know. Maybe it's just a sweet moment.
Yeah. I mean, I do find it interesting because, in the beginning towards the beginning of the episode when they move in together and they have to decide who's sleeping where, he graciously is like, "Have the upstairs, the large bedroom, and I'll take this guest bedroom down here." But over the course of the episode, we see him kinda, like, inching his way into her room that he's given her, which is, like, physically, like, he's, like, lying on the bed when she comes into the bedroom and for that last scene, and we're
Yeah.
wondering, like, "Interesting, like, is he gonna get up?" Like, it's, like, kinda like manipulating his way in a smooth way, but, like, it yeah. What does that say about his character, do you think, Carmen? Like, he's kinda, like,
I feel like
smooth,
he's
but
got
isn't he?
ulterior motives. I mean, look, I mean, I think that John is attracted to Jane. I think that's
Do
honest.
you do you think he's in it for the romance and the relationship? Partially?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think he's just, like, trying to hook up, and if the company asked him to take Jane out, I think he would at this point, I think he would do it.
I love the moment when it's, like, their first night in their new home as a married couple, and he comes up and knocks on her door, and it's like, "I thought maybe we would say goodnight." I don't know why I love that, just because it's very real, it's like, "Okay, well, we're 2 people sleeping together in the same place now, so, like, isn't this a thing that we're supposed to kinda do?" And, like, he discovers that she's already, like, eaten dinner and had her meal, like, without him when he's, like, cooking his own meal, and so it's, like, him trying to have some sort of normalcy in this very bizarre situation, and her being like, "Okay, no, I'm." She doesn't even say goodnight, I don't think, in that scene.
No.
He actually says it, and she doesn't say it, and she
Nope.
goes back to watching Naked and Afraid, which is which I also love. I'm like, "Wait a second, I've seen that episode of Naked and Afraid." That's what she's watching.
Jane is very relatable. Like, I think
Mhm.
the writing is so great in this show because they both do feel like real people, and it feels like how folks would react in a situation like that. Um, I do think that we learned at the end of the episode that the cat is named Max, and the cat is actually Jane's cat, that she has brought with her. Um,
Well,
which,
that's their
like,
story.
well, that's true. She could be lying.
'Cause
That's
because I thought that the cat came with the place, like, the agency was like, "Here, married people have animals, here's a cat." Um, and she was like, "We're gonna name this cat Max, and, I'm happy to compromise in other stuff since we're a married couple, but that's Max." And then he's like, "And you brought him with you?" Like, that was his, like, concession, like, "Okay, fine,
Oh.
if you're naming the cat, then I guess our story can be that you brought the cat with you into our marriage, like, he came with you." So, which I found interesting because until then, they really hadn't gone over any, details of, like, their story as a married couple. You know, you would think, "Hey, if you're meeting somebody and you're gonna be a spy married couple," you'd come up with, like, "Okay, we gotta get our story straight on how did we meet, and how long have we been married, and, like, you know, what's your favorite such and such." So, like, that was the first detail, I think, that it was like, "Okay, that's gonna be your cat that you brought into this marriage." But I'm excited to kinda see, like, what's their other stories they're gonna tell themselves about their marriage.
Oh man, that makes a lot more sense. Maybe it's not that deep and I'm overthinking it. I'm like, "Oh, it's her cat from her past life and she can't let it go." Oh, I'm over here doing a thesis statement on this action comedy show.
That would be funny if she snuck it in there.
Um,
Oh, look, we have a cat." And it's the one she actually brought.
yeah,
Oh, look.
Max is very cute.
He is cute. She likes animals, so,
It's a good
yeah.
sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign. Good sign about her.
So I do have a question for you. I have 2 questions for you, actually. The first question is, out of John and Jane, do you have a favorite?
That's not fair, Carmen. I can't answer that. I like them both.
You can say
I
both.
I I think they're equally amazing. I mean, I love the awkwardness in the situation, and I love that they're both, like they don't come from already being spies, you know, they're not, like, typical spies, they're both a little bit out of their element, like, she, I guess, tried out for the CIA or something, or came close and didn't make the cut,
Something like
supposedly,
that, yeah.
um, and he has this military experience, supposedly, but, you know, I don't think has any formal like, they don't seem like they have formal training on how to deal with these missions, so I love that element about them both. I
Yeah.
can't pick a favorite. I don't know, you have a favorite?
Yeah, it's Jane. Sorry, John, it's Jane. I mean, like, she gets a lot of points for Max, but also I just think she's cool and she seems like John mentions that he has basic training, but Jane does seem like she's more well suited for the job than he is. And so yeah, I think she's cool.
I like what you're saying about the realness that sh I mean, they both have realness, but, like, her reaction to the whole situation of, like, being with a stranger is seems more relatable slightly. Like
Yes.
like, "Who are you? I don't know who you are." Like
I'm gonna hide in the
so like that.
bedroom and watch
Yeah.
reality TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my second question for you is, Kimberly, do you love
Mhm.
it?
I do love it. I love this reimagining of this Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited to see where this goes. Do you love it, Carmen?
I do love it. It's so cute and it's so fun. Um, I think the writing is amazing. I think that the characters are really well rounded and interesting, and I was hooked from the beginning. Um, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen next.
Me too. What mission they'll be given next.
Who
And who this
knows?
organization is.
Who is it? Is it
I don't
Organization
know.
13 from Kingdom Hearts? I hope not.
I don't know.
Well, friends, I think that might do it for us here on our first episode of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But Kimberly, where can people find us?
So, you guys can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to leave us a review. Tell us what you thought about this episode on social media. We're at Take This TV on TikTok and Instagram. And thank you so much for watching Hot Potatoes, and welcome to the club.
Thank you, everyone. And remember, It's dangerous to watch TV alone. We did it! Episode